Ralph. I work for Collider, and I love our Collider screening series. I think we do like really cool things, bring together a whole bunch of movie fans. This one is extra special though because the Jurassic franchise is my favorite franchise. I have seen the movie already, and I try not to hype things up too much before you all get to experience it for yourself, but for what it's worth, this was the Jurassic ride that I wanted, so I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. So what we're going to do tonight is screen the movie, and then we have a Q&A after, and we encourage you to share your thoughts on the movie, to share some clips online from the Q&A if you want, just in case any spoilers come up. Make sure you don't spoil the movie for anyone out there who hasn't seen it. Save those clips for a much later date, and if you enjoy this Collider screening, we want to do more. We want to do more on both. We do a whole bunch in LA, but we want to do more and more in New York. So make sure to take to social media wherever you post and tell everybody how great the Collider screening series is and how great Jurassic World Rebirth is. Hold on to your butts, everyone, and enjoy. I'm going to give a proper introduction now. My name's Perry Nemiroff from Collider. I love Jurassic so much, so it is my honor to introduce you to the director of Jurassic World Rebirth. We have Gareth Edwards here. Hello and congratulations. And then we also have producer Frank Marshall.
I'm assuming you've all just seen the film, right?
Yeah. Congratulations on yet another one.
No, you see it. You see it.
You need to answer all the questions.
I got many questions
Hi, guys.
for both of you.
Hey.
Frank, you're getting my first question here, because you've worked on a number of these, and I'm really curious to hear, did you always know that you wanted the next installment of this franchise to have a standalone feel?
No, I just want to do another one. And we kind of closed out we had the trilogy, and we thought, okay, we need a new story, a fresh start, and that was really the basis for us continuing to go forward. And then Mr. Spielberg spoke to Mr. Kapp, and Mr. Kapp had an idea, and a great one.
Do you remember what idea number one was? The first thing you heard from the two of them
Yeah,
that made you say it's time to go?
It was an island where the mutants are, the ones that didn't work, that were being created. It was a really great idea. Maybe I can say this, it was during the writer's strike. I hope David doesn't get any trouble. But I don't think he did any writing during the writer's strike, but he had this idea. And then when the writer's strike was over, he really wrote the script incredibly fast. And we got it in December of 2023, right? 2023.
Yep.
Yeah. And then Gareth came on board in February of 24?
I'm not sure. There was, my only way to date it is you said, because it was the film we did, and it was not me, it was the amazing crew that worked on it. They got nominated for an Oscar. And so you get to go to this silly sort of lunch where there's loads of A-list celebrities. It's like being with the gods of Olympus. And you said to me, Spielberg's gonna be there, go up and say hi. I was like, there's no fucking way I'm gonna tap him on the shoulder and say hi. And I was stood at one point, and someone was taking a picture of me, and we had to move out of the way, because we were blocking this guy, and it was Spielberg. And I was like, oh my God, it's him. And so I know we were talking around that weekend, whatever we think, and that was February something.
That was February.
What did you say to Spielberg?
At the event?
Yeah.
I didn't say anything.
You didn't say anything? Have you spoken to him? Have you spoken to him since? What was the first
Many
conversation?
times she spoke.
Well, what happened? So they sent the screenplay over the weekend that when we first chatted, and then I went into Kennedy Marshall, and for those that have never been in Kennedy Marshall, there's a lot of nice rooms, but there's this one particular room that's got loads of photography all around the sides, and it's all kind of like a history of every movie you've ever grown up loving, and your face on most of them. And so it's very intimidating already, because you go, oh my God, they made all the masterpieces that I love. And then Frank comes in, he's a very polite guy, as you can see, and I thought to myself, I'm just gonna be honest, I'm just gonna say what I would do if I was the director of this, and they can, if they hate it, that's it, you know, we'll all shake hands, and it's nice to have the meeting. And Frank was just listening, and I kept going through it, and you didn't interrupt me or anything, and I was like, oh my God, did he hate it? I just couldn't read you at all. And then I got to the end, and you went, okay, can you come back tomorrow and repeat all of that exactly as you said it to Stephen? And in my brain I was like, does he mean Steven Spielberg? Or is there another Steven, like head of development at Kennedy Marshall's? Stephen Watkins. And so then the next day we were in Amberlin, we met up, and I got to say I was pretty nervous, because you know, the idea of pitching whatever it was, you know, Jurassic film to Steven Spielberg is like up there in terms of life events.
Well, it was a key moment because the train had already left the station because we knew we had this release date of next week. And I knew that we needed to hit the ground running, and we'd already started to look for locations. We picked the 2 boats already. We'd done a lot of pre-production without a director. And I knew that Gareth, any director, would want to put their own kind of stamp on it. But it couldn't be too big of a stamp, that we couldn't have something that would stop the momentum of that train moving forward. And so I wanted to hear the pitch first. And he gave a pitch that I thought would work with Stephen, that we could continue going and he could put his own stamp on it, but we could continue to make the movie without holding anything up. And it worked out okay, I think, right?
I would say so. I'll build on that idea a little bit about having to jump aboard a moving train, but also getting the opportunity to put your own stamp on it with this question. Gareth, can you tell us maybe the biggest difference between the first draft of this screenplay that you saw and the finished film that everyone just watched?
Gosh, the essence of it's the same. Like basically the structure's the same, the character's the same, the story's the same. Everything that David kept brought to it, which was fantastic, was the same. And then really it was just like, as a director, you're now basically interpreting all of these ideas visually. There was a little, do you remember the opening? It was like
Yeah, it was. It was a little more conventional, the beginning. Well, we can tell all kinds of stories about the beginning, because we were going to shoot the beginning in London and not in Dumbo.
Oh, that bit. Yeah, so
Yeah. It was a walk and talk on a street in somewhere here, probably right down here somewhere. And then you had this idea that you wanted to show one of the dinosaurs suffering and not making it.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing it was. It was like, the scene was there. It was like, oh, instead of walking down the street, could we see a dying dinosaur? And
yeah, instead of just talking about the dinosaurs dying out here in our environment, Gareth thought it would be better to see one, which is always a good idea.
And then there was the actual opening was, so it was written, it was just a little brief glimpse of the island. And then I was like, oh, I'd really love to see the moment the lab all goes wrong, have this like incident. And so I just pitched a little silly idea, thinking, oh, they're gonna reject that. But you allowed us to go do it. And there's little things like that. It was basically everything that was there. And some of it, you didn't need to say a word. Like, I felt like the mosasaur chase, spot on. The Raft sequence was all spot on. Just little ideas here and there. And then David's really good because he's also a director. So sometimes you'd be like, David, and you'd be like, how do I bring this up? You know, because it's his work and he's written it. And you kind of want to tweak something. And it might be to do with the set pieces. And you'd be like, I've got this idea with, and he always goes, Gareth, if you just accepted this and shot it just how I wrote it, I would be really disappointed. Like if you're a director worth your salt, you should be telling me like, I got this. You know, I'm gonna do it this other way. And so he was encouraging, like, running with it, you know, and so, but there was, honestly, it was a dream to work with him. He's who he is for a reason. I feel like, and I tell you what, there's a few things that are really interesting, is that this was the first film I've ever worked on where a script existed that everybody in the room, you, Stephen, David Kep, Universal, and myself, could all point at and go, let's go make that. That's the movie. And it made everything, the fact we did it in a year and a quarter rather than 2.5 years, it made that all possible. And the other thing that's really super interesting, because after that meeting with Stephen, you could tell I was probably a bit nervous. And at the end, and Stephen goes something like, well, if you thought that was tricky, wait till you meet David, right? Like really setting him up like this monster, like this DRex. And he wasn't at all. And I think as soon as I started a Zoom with him, because he was in New York and I was in LA, I guess, and behind him was this big poster of King Kong. And I started just talking about King Kong, and he started talking about it, and we just talked about monster movies. And I realized, like, the key to this was everybody in Hollywood, anywhere, making films, they're all trying to do the same thing, which is make a great film. Where the conflict comes is if you disagree about what a great film is. Like, if what your idea of a great film is not what someone else thinks is a great film, then you can never, relationships can always be tricky. And so David and I were really on the same page, like aesthetic, like in terms of the taste of movies. And so I personally feel it was a really smooth ride, and it had to be because of the deadline. But yeah, it was a bit of a dream project.
Doing a lot in a short period of time. I have a million follow-up questions, but this is the one I need to add in first. It's the fact that we just got a Jurassic movie shot on 35, which is quite ambitious, and I think just like suits the story and like adds unparalleled texture. Gareth, this is your first time shooting on 35 versus digital. Can you tell us a little bit about some learning curves you experienced and also why you thought it was necessary to tell the story that way?
Well, because I love his films. I just wanted it to look like his movies. And you need support from the producers if you're going to shoot on film. Like, it wasn't a straightforward approach. It was 2 days before we could see anything. We were moving locations.
Yeah, and in today's day and age, it's a luxury to shoot on film. Mm-hmm. And so in our back and forth with the studio about the budget, it's a little more expensive to shoot on film. And we don't get to see it for 2 days, even, and maybe 3 when you're in Thailand. We do get to see the playback, so we know what we have. But, you know, it could get damaged in transit, there could be hair in the gate, all this kind of thing. But, you know, part of my job is to support the director's vision. We had to fight right down to the end to find the money to pay for the film. And so it's a give and take. Well, can you not have this and then we can pay for the film? So I have to say this movie was one of my favorite collaborations with everybody. The cast, we had a fantastic cast who we didn't even know when we were putting it together how great they would be. And they became a family. And we went on this journey together. They would have questions about their character. We would talk about it. We would call David. David was here. He would get on the phone. He would discuss it. We would tweak it a bit. It was just an ongoing process that was really wonderful. And Gareth and I would talk about those scenes at the end were shot at the end of our schedule. The night scenes on the back lot in London. And, you know, we didn't know where the Mutadon was going to catch up with the group, and so we'd be back there trying to work it out. And then we had as you get on movie shoot, we had something happen that was completely out of left field. Rupert Friend was having a baby, and it was all scheduled to happen after he wrapped. And guess what? It happened one night. We were in the middle of shooting that last scene. And we worked around it. The poor stunt double, or was it a stand-in? Who was it?
But what I heard was Rupert was hanging. It was the moment. It was the shot in the. You've all seen. I'm not like reading this. Right? It's not live streaming or something. Right?
We will brand the video with all the
Okay,
appropriate
okay.
spoiler warnings.
So Rupert was hanging from a wire, and it was the shot where the DRex has grabbed him and is about to eat him, and he's going and he got the phone call on his mobile phone in his pocket that his wife was giving birth, and
2 weeks early.
and essentially, and my joke to him was at that point then like you're basically your life ended in two different ways, didn't it?
That kid needs like a plush DRex or something.
And what was funny is you do ADR on a movie, right, which is basically where the actors come in, they replace dialogue, and and you get it clean, or you get new ideas for dialogue. He came in and did a session, and he had his cute little kid with him, his little baby girl, and she was in the ADR session with him, and he was having to do the screams of his death moment. And every time he did it, I was like, go harder, go like make it really harrowing, like the most horrific, painful, like pleading for your life. And he kept doing more and we were going, this girl's gonna need therapy the rest of her life, just watching, who is this man? He's just crying like a babe, he's worse than me.
As someone who's been a Jurassic lover as long as I can remember, that sounds like a wonderful foundational family moment to me. I'll stick with the DRex a little more here. Can you tell us a little more about what it's made up of? Because I know the base of it is the T-Rex genome. What else do you envision being in it?
Well, I thought it was really an opportunity for Frank to have a cameo in the film. So we scanned Frank's face. The scanner wasn't working properly, and no, I'm joking. It was basically you chuck everything in a melting pot. It's really hard to come up with a monster idea, and so we put in I put in like a little bit of the Rancor from Star Wars. Don't tell people who work on Star Wars.
Don't tell Gareth.
And then we put in Alien, a little bit of H.R. Geiger's Alien. For good measure, and there was a little bit of obviously the T-Rex, and then obviously what the animators do is they go, like if you imagine we were all dinosaurs, right, for a second, and someone made a movie about humans, and they would go, oh, it's a human, like that's the end of the conversation, and you'd be like, well, which human? What kind? Like Clint Eastwood? What is it? And so basically the animators go, well, who would it be if it was a character? And I ended up saying like, okay, well maybe go rewatch David Lynch's The Elephant Man. And the idea of like something that's a little bit suffering, didn't want to be in this situation. And I like that. It's in there subtly, hopefully, but there's this little bit of empathy you have for it. You wanted to feel slightly sorry for it, and apparently it's the sound designer's mother-in-law's dog that kind of struggles to breathe. That's what I heard.
Oh.
There's another sad story if you want it. So his cat got attacked by another cat and crushed its windpipe.
No.
The cat recovered and is perfectly happy and recovered, but breathes in a very strange way. And he recorded his cat, and who's now passed away. This is really sorry. and used the audio for Aqualops. So the little sniffles and his cat.
Sound designers are very strange people.
Hearing about the sound design behind all of the dinosaurs in this franchise is always something that fascinates me. I'll ask a question about Dolores that has been weighing on my mind. So the movie makes a point to say that the dinosaurs can only really survive near the equator. Where is Dolores going, and will she be okay?
I'm calling David Keck. They're on their way somewhere. Dolores is going to be okay. Definitely.
I can sleep easy now.
I had a little theory when we were filming it, because you kind of get into the logic and the maths of how did Dolores get from here to there?
Don't tell them.
And so we started to go, what if it's not the same animal? Like, what if every time she just sees an aqua, she's like, Dolores! And this totally different animal's like, who the fuck is this?
And they all like licorice. That's good.
I mean, I'm right there with her. I believed every single step of the way. I want to go back to some of the dino designs in this, because I was reading somewhere in our press notes that you got together a group of concept artists and you basically said to them, like, just go wild, take it to an 11 and swing big. Can you recall maybe like the most wild concept art that you saw for a potential dino in the movie?
Actually, yeah, no, that's all coming back now. What happened was we had so you start a film like this, normally you have 2.5 years, we had a year and a quarter. And you arrived at Universal, first day on the job kind of thing in the office. And they're like, oh, and then you got your first meeting, it's like, oh, in a couple of days or whatever it is, Mattel, the toy company, are coming. And you're like, why? And they're like, well, they want to see the dinosaurs so they can design the toys. And you go, but we haven't designed anything. And like, yeah, we know, it's okay. And they go, but if they don't build the factories now, they're not going to be ready in a year for the movie's release, so they have to start now. And you go, but we haven't got a thing. I've just walked in the building. I don't. And they're like, look, they're coming anyway. Okay, so just get your act together. And
we had to present to them, right? We made it. Oh, I forgot.
And so
complete bullshit.
And so what happened was, I've had the great privilege of working with a lot of great concept artists around the world, and we basically did this, like, bat signal went up, and it was like, please, and like, they were nice enough to give us some money, and we were like, we're gonna pay you all, right? We're gonna do this crazy Zoom, and I'm gonna brief you about every single dinosaur, and you guys are gonna go wild, and if you don't send me some stuff that I instantly reject because it's too fucking out there, then you failed at your job. And then we just sat and for a few hours just went through every single dinosaur and what it could and couldn't be, showing references, all sorts of things. And then like it was like within a day or two, we could fill a room with illustrations and stuff. It like happened really, really quick.
Yeah, and for example, the Mutadon we knew had to fly, so we could give it wings and a shape and everything, and it was refined over the next couple of months until they started doing their models and things. But yeah, it was we hit the ground running in every aspect of the movie.
I still can't get over the timeline that you had to make a movie like this. It really is something else. Here's a question that I was really eager to ask, specifically because I think it's something you do really well in the movie. There are so many echoes to the original movie that are kind of like baked into your scenes. Can you kind of walk us through what it's like, I guess, finding the sweet spot in terms of adding an echo, adding an Easter egg, so to speak, but also making sure that, I guess, it plays naturally in this version, in this story?
The process is basically, I chuck in everything I love about a Spielberg film and Frank goes, take it out. And then we settle in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, that's how it worked. No, you can't do that. Can't do that. Actually, I'm surprised because there's so many left that I missed.
Did you have a particular favorite scene from the original movie that you were most excited to get to tap into in your own?
Well, the one I tried, yeah, the one I fought for a little bit, I guess, was okay. So basically, you have a movie where it's a tropical island with dinosaurs on, and if that's all you have visually, it's like we went back in time to when they existed. And the great thing about Jurassic is it's not that, it's they came to our time, right? And so in Jurassic Park, something that really spells that out is the kitchen scene, right? Where because you sit and watch that as a kid and you go, that's like the kitchen at school, you know what I mean, or something. Like that's where I live. And so I was trying to find some location that would fit within the script that was a bit like, you could go, that's like down my street. And you know, they had vehicles, and so I thought, a gas station, right? And so you start a gas station, suddenly you've got the interior, okay, you're gonna have a bit of predatory kind of tension in there. And then they built these fridges like you get in gas stations. And I was looking at them thinking, oh, you could hide in one of those. And then you start to go, oh, they lights flicker on and off, that's a good gag. Oh, maybe only the gill could fit it. Maybe she covers the light. Oh, and then it would come after her and it would flicker on and you go, but it would just see her and get, no, she hides it. Oh, you get a reflection. And you start getting excited, then you go, oh, wait a minute, that's like the kitchen scene in Jurassic. and then you think, oh, fuck it, let's just do it anyway. Because it's kind of a nod, it's kind of a reflection of that movie, and it's like, and then when we were shooting it, David Kett was on set and Frank, and they kind of came up and were like, you should shoot a version where you can cut this bit out if you need to. And I was like so deflated. And I did shoot a version where we could cut it out. We did cut a version with the owl. And you get to that point where there was very little cut out of this film. It's pretty much all in there. It's very difficult for the deleted scenes. There's about 2, and they last about 2 minutes. But that one was out for a while, and I remember just trying to look sad around Frank every time I saw him, and then eventually like, go on, put it back in.
Yeah, timing is everything, you know. I just had to wait for the right time that I knew we could put it back in the movie and it would work because we'd taken out other things that were called back.
It's very, very effective. Another example that I absolutely love is the raft scene when Bella's underneath. It immediately takes me back to the kids in the car in the front, and also the gyrosphere. I feel like that's a part where like you get 3 versions of the same idea, but everything feels like unique to the movie that it's in. And it's a really effective thing to have, especially as a big fan. I do want to dig into that raft scene a little more, because for anyone out there who loves the book, like, we've been waiting a long time to see that scene on screen. So I guess, like, what kind of pressure do you feel adapting that from the book to screen that, you know, maybe makes that a higher pressure scene than anything else in the film?
Well, I'll say that this was David Koepp's idea, and he said to Steven, remember that scene that we couldn't get in the first movie? Let's try and put it in this one. And it worked perfectly for the family. And then Gareth shot the shit out of it. I mean, there we were in Thailand, and that's a real lake, and there's a dock there, and the mountains are all around, and we had the dead dinosaur there. He was actually on the set. He didn't really smell, but he looked good. And then what I love about working with Gareth is he sees in his mind where these things that aren't there are. I can't do that. I'm from the old school. I don't see how these things connect, but you're able to see this, and you knew how to stage and shoot this scene that's unbelievable and we all have dogs, or most of us, a lot of us have dogs, and how many times have you seen your dog just roll over and go back to sleep? And that was the idea.
It's a lot of good naps for dinosaurs in this movie. Like also this Spinosaurus where it just gets up in the background from laying on the beach. I just love that stuff. I want to go back to the store, the gas station, really quickly, because one thing that I was reading about is that store is filled with InGen products, and so it was making me wonder: are there any particular Easter eggs on that set that I don't know you really appreciated or that stuck with you?
Everywhere, like whenever you just stood around waiting for something to happen, you could just reach to your left and pull something. You go, and I like do it, and it'd be like, oh look, a little badge of Devil's Tower, you know, from Close Encounters, and you're probably going to go, oh look, a magazine about Back to the Future, and it was people like James Clyde and his team who just love these movies too, and you know, trying to sneak stuff past Frank and getting away with it. Yeah, it was, the whole movie to me is a love letter to his films and you know what you guys did back then, and I think that's probably the difference. Is I know there's a very fine line between plagiarism and homage, right? And you got to be careful. And these people are very humble, and they don't want to repeat anything. But I'm like, there's just probably yourself, David Koepp, and Steven are like a unique trio in that you're the only people in the whole world that feel that way. The rest of the world loves your movies and enjoys revisiting them. And I felt like I was one of those people. And so I felt, and maybe I'm wrong, come on, in a cheer now and tell him he's wrong, right? Am I right? Is it good to have a little bit of reference to these movies? Is
there a Congo reference anywhere?
I hope not.
I have a big place in my heart for that one. I gotta let you guys go in a minute. I want to make sure to squeeze in 2 more questions, though. One thing I was really curious about is the temple that you added, because I know it was a reference to Temple of Doom, but I was wondering if maybe you created any backstory for something like that, like why that was there, and maybe why that would kind of add an important layer to the story other than just being a reference to a beloved film.
It's kind of my fault in that, I mean, the truth is, so in those meetings where I went, I'd like to do this, this, and this, and this. One of the things on the top of the list was, I like the idea that it starts with in the jungle and there's like a tribe, you know, like a remote Amazon tribe that have not been discovered kind of thing, and that you think they're basically looking nervous at something and there's movement in the trees, and then the trees start to collapse, and basically it's a big massive digger bulldozing the rainforest, and they're basically making or finishing the lab. And it was like a way in, that you think it's gonna be a dinosaur and it wasn't. And because in my mind there was this tribe, I started to think, well, you could then probably have little bits of, you know, civilization of theirs throughout the island. And when you're doing anything in Central America, by default, it has to be sort of Inca based. And once you get into Inca, you suddenly sat there and go, hang on, this looks like Raiders of the Lost Ark. Uh-oh, Frank's our producer. and so we started building this temple for the nest, because it was written as just a nest on the side of the cliff, but I'm not a good enough director to make that exciting. And so I was like, I need a bit more of a playground to play with. And so I wanted like a carving inside of a, you know, cliff edge like you see. But then it did start to very much look like a particular movie. And you walked on set, and I remember you had a comment.
I don't remember. I had a lot of comments. But
I didn't know if it was a positive or a negative comment.
That's right. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it was almost too much. Not sure we could do this, but it actually works in the movie. However, we then had to tie it together with the characters on the top, who had to have a way to get down to the bottom after Johnny Bailey fell in the, you know, there are all these things you start going, oh, well, how did they get to the bottom? Well, then we had to create this, and then we had to create a moment when something went in that little stairway that went down, and they could get away. So it just compounded itself, but that's why we do what we do. We work together and we solve these problems, and we solve these story problems before they become a problem in the cut.
Makes all the sense in the world. I gotta end with the greediest question of all, because everyone here is seeing this movie early. It hasn't even come out yet, but you know where I'm gonna go with this. I need Jurassic movies in my life forever and ever and ever. Is there an itch to make another one? And if so, are we talking another trilogy or perhaps another standalone story?
Well, all I'll say to that is, I think we left the door quite open.
There's only one follow-up question to that. Do you have any? Because you've done 3 franchise movies at this point, and you haven't returned to the other franchises. Are you itching to do another Jurassic?
I mean, look. Are these new carpets? Are these like, I, as a fan, I've been getting this question a little bit this week. As a fan, there are things I want to see. Like you're thinking, you're probably all sitting there going, you know what would be great? Oh, you know what would be really cool? And as a fan, I've got those same desires, right? I want these films to keep going, and there's things I want to see personally. As a filmmaker, I won the lottery getting to do this movie, and so like I'm very happy where I am. And I've been saying to everyone, and it's 100% true. We've not had a single conversation about another film at all. And I don't know if it's superstition or what, but I've not done it. Frank's not done it. David's not done it. The studio's not done it. And I'm going to keep it that way tonight, if that's all right. And we'll just see how the world, reacts when it comes out.
I respect that. I will say though, whether it's continuing with this franchise or perhaps a completely different one, any franchise is lucky to have you at the helm. I cannot emphasize this enough. I absolutely love this movie. I'm so happy to have a great new edition of my favorite film franchise. Huge congratulations to you both.